Good afternoon, everyone. This is Financial Literacy 101. This is part 2 of your stimulus check and your taxes. Just trying to explain this a little bit better on how the government has given you sort of a rebate, sort of a credit, sort of a loan that you guys have to absolutely pay back. Now, the big question is these particular stimulus checks, these particular installment loans are similar to the ones that Bill Clinton gave us back in the late 1990s or early 2000s, where he gave single people $300 and gave married couples $600. So first and foremost, let's just look at the amount of money that was given to us back in those times. I mean, some of us was probably of age, some probably wasn't of age, but nonetheless, I think it's important to cover that particular information before we get into the heart of the discussion, okay? So with that being said, as you can tell right here, and this is a news story that happened back in 2001. It says the checks, which go to millions of Americans who filed a 2000 income tax return, range from a maximum amount of $300 for single filers to $600 for a married taxpayer who filed jointly. Single parents will get about $500. So this is kind of like the first age of stimulus checks being given and being granted to American citizens. Then shortly after that, we understand of the recession of 2008-2009 timeframe. It says that the Bush administration sent out stimulus checks to battle the 2008 recession. It spent $120 billion in fiscal years 2008 and 2009. It rebated taxes on the first $6,000 of income for individuals or the first $12,000 of income for couples. So automatically we understand that Bill Clinton, during the first stimulus checks of the late 1990s, early 2000s, people were receiving $300 for singles, $600 for married joint couples, and then $500 for single parents. Now, when it came to Bush during the recession, they just simply gave you a rebate on your taxes, whether it be $6,000 for individuals, single, and $12,000 for your married couples. The question is this going to mirror the same tactic that the Democrats, and I'm not just pointing out the Democrats that demonize the democracy of the Democrats. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just pointing out that during Bill Clinton's stint in the White House, when he was giving out stimulus checks, do you understand that first and foremost, the stimulus check was not an option? The stimulus checks were not an option. They sent out to each and every viable and legitimate American in order to spend that stimulus money. And you also paid interest on that stimulus money back in the late 1990s. Because anytime you cash that stimulus check, when the government attaches your social security number to that stimulus check, they counted it as your income. And then you were again taxed on that income. So essentially, you were double taxed. Okay, you were taxed from your regular income. Then when you got the influx of your $300 or $600, and this is during the Bill Clinton administration, you were double taxed because when you file your taxes that very next year, they accounted that $600 as your income. Now the question is this: are you guys going to pay taxes, double taxes, on your stimulus check that you've already received? The first one was $1,200, the second one was $600, and this third one is around $1,400. Okay, so a grand total of $3,200. Now, if you was married with kids, of course you receive a lot more money. But I'm just doing the basic math here on individuals. Now, this is what I had to really research, and hopefully, and I'm gonna talk to my CPM and talk to my tax professional to see if this is true. So this is the information that I received right here on CNBC they're stating that our stimulus checks taxable income. And they're stating here, neither of the two previous stimulus checks delivered in 2020 are considered taxable. Now, the word consider, and this is why knowing the meaning of words mean a whole deal of a lot. They said they're not considered taxable. That doesn't mean that they will not be taxed and it will not be counted as your income. It says, according to the Economic Impact Payment Information Center on the IRS website, the payment is not includable in your gross income. Okay, so that's real clear language. So basically, they're saying that the amount of money you guys receive on your stimulus checks is not going to be counted in your annual income. So you're not going to be taxed on that money, because when you really think about it, ladies and gentlemen, some people who are married with kids receive up to $5,000. So take, for instance, if you was making $45,000, then for that year, they include it into your gross income, then you made $50,000. And what people do not understand is there is a chart of how much money people make and what tax bracket you fall in. So let me just do a quick Google search. I think that's very important. I'm sorry I didn't pop that up previously, but this is important that we understand what tax bracket do we fall in. Let me see if I can find this chart very quickly. And this is very important that you guys understand this, because then you'll know if you are getting taxed. Very important. I think I have it here. Give me 1 second. Let me see. They popped up a chart here. Here we go. All right, so let's look at this together, family. All right, this information is coming from nerdwallet.com, and it goes as such. So taxable income bracket. Let me show you how important it is to know how much you'll be taxed, okay? So it says here, let's take, for instance, that you make $35,000, okay? You make $35,000, but you got the stimulus money that puts you over the threshold of $40,000. So you went from $35,000 because you were married with dependents, you had $5,000. So now you're making $40,000. And guess what? Now you're in the 22% taxable bracket versus you being in the 12% taxable bracket. Your taxes almost double because of only $5,000. Do you understand what I'm talking about? And then in some cases, what if you guys was making $36,350, $36,350, that extra $5,000 again brings you over the $40,000 threshold. So now you're being taxed in the 22% tax bracket. And these dollars mean something. And a lot of people who are into taxes, oh, you know, I made $40,125. But if you make $40,126, you double your taxes from 12% to 22%. Now, granted, those people, if you notice, when you start getting to the middle class, people who are making 40 grand to 80, and from 85 to 163, it only raises 2 points. So the majority of people who make anywhere between 40 to 80 grand are being taxed the most. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed that people who are making anywhere from 40,000 to 85,000 are being taxed the most? Because if you go up to $85,525 and you go up to $85,526, it only raises 2%. Now, if you take that same scenario and you say, well, I'm at 12%, I make $40,125, but if you make one extra dollar, your taxes double. So when people ask me, is it really that important, that $5,000, that $3,000 that will put me over into the next tax bracket? The answer is 1,000% yes. Because if the government includes your stimulus check in your gross annual income, your taxes, you will be taxed on that amount, as well paying back the stimulus money that you've already received. Now, and I gave this information out yesterday on my channel, but I had to do a part 2 just in case for some people who may not be aware of the possibility. I'm not saying that it's going to occur. I am saying that the possibility of you're paying taxes on stimulus money is very, very possible. It's very, very possible. For you guys who have already filed your taxes and you also receive any of the 3 stimulus payments, you already know that first initial of $1,200 was deducted from your tax return. That second stimulus payment of $600 was deducted from your tax return. And if you received that third one of $1,400, it was deducted from your tax return. I don't necessarily understand why the government will essentially give you money just to take it back, especially during a pandemic. But then again, I digress. I absolutely know why. We need to understand that America is not a country. It is a corporation and is ran as such. This is a business, and in any money that they give you, they're going to get that money back.